The twin suns of the distant planet Zithera rose slowly over the jagged crystal mountains, casting long beams of light that danced across the glassy plains below. The world was unlike anything humans had seen. Its cities floated above the ground, shimmering with alien energy, and the air was filled with the hum of strange machines. At the center of Zithera stood the magnificent palace of the alien queen, a ruler known for her wisdom, strength, and unyielding pride. Far above the surface, in the cold vacuum of space, a human spaceship shuddered violently. Inside, a young human named Ethan struggled to stabilize the controls. His ship had been part of a small mission to explore unknown systems and make contact with alien civilizations. But a sudden solar storm had thrown him off course, and now he was hurtling toward Zithera, entirely unprepared for the dangers below. Ethan's fingers flew across the console, sweat running down his forehead. He had trained for emergencies, but nothing could fully prepare him for this. A warning alarm blared and the hull groaned. In a desperate move, he activated the emergency thrusters, guiding the ship toward a relatively flat area outside the palace city. With a violent jolt, the ship crash-landed, sending up a cloud of sparkling dust from the crystalline ground. The planet was quiet for a moment, save for the settling dust. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest as he checked the ship's systems. Most of them were damaged, and he knew he had little time. But he also realized he was alive. That alone was a small victory. As he stepped outside, the alien landscape stretched endlessly before him. Towering spires of crystal rose into the sky, and strange, translucent creatures moved gracefully in the distance. The air was breathable, though strange scents filled his nose, sweet, metallic, and earthy all at once. Ethan looked around cautiously, knowing that any encounter with the planet's inhabitants could be dangerous. He had not gone far when he noticed movement among the rocks nearby. A small group of aliens appeared, humanoid in shape but taller and more slender than any human. Their skin shimmered faintly like liquid silver, and their eyes glowed softly with intelligence and curiosity. The aliens stopped when they saw him, tilting their heads in unison. Ethan raised his hand slowly. "I don't want trouble," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I'm just stranded here. I need help." The aliens hesitated, communicating silently with gestures and subtle sounds. After a tense moment, one of them, a female with striking violet eyes, stepped forward. "He is human," she said, her voice melodic and precise. "He survives, but trust is uncertain." Before Ethan could respond, another alien approached from the shadows. This one carried a small child, barely old enough to walk. The child stared at Ethan with wide, curious eyes. Then, without hesitation, the child ran forward and wrapped tiny arms around Ethan's leg. "Daddy!" the child cried. Ethan froze, confusion and shock flooding him. He looked down at the child. The aliens around them stiffened, exchanging alarmed glances. He had no idea why the child called him that, but instinctively he knelt down, holding the child carefully. Hey, it's okay," Ethan said gently. "I don't know who you are, but I'll keep you safe." The violet-eyed alien stepped forward again, her expression a mixture of fear and curiosity. "This child, why, calls you Daddy?" she asked. Her voice carried authority, and Ethan realized she was no ordinary alien. She had the presence of someone important. I don't know, Ethan admitted honestly. I think something about me. It feels familiar to the child." He didn't lie, but he kept certain details to himself. Revealing the full truth now could cause chaos. The aliens moved back slightly, giving Ethan space. The child clung to him as if recognizing him in a way Ethan couldn't understand. Something deep inside him stirred. A protective instinct, a sense of responsibility he had never felt before. Word of the strange human and the child spread quickly to the palace. The alien queen, a figure both majestic and intimidating, had heard rumors of a human on her planet. Humans were rare, often underestimated, and sometimes dangerous. Her first instinct was to investigate personally. The queen's chambers were vast and glimmering, with walls made of living crystal that reflected every movement. She moved with grace, her robes flowing like liquid metal, her eyes sharp and calculating, examined the palace guards who reported to her. "Explain," she commanded, her voice calm but carrying unmistakable authority. "Why is a human here and why is there?" Confusion involving a child? A senior advisor bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, the human appears stranded. He rescued a child in the outer regions. The child calls him Daddy, the situation is unprecedented, the Queen's brow furrowed. Unprecedented indeed, she said. Prepare a secure area. I will see this human myself. Meanwhile, Ethan was led to a safe enclosure in the palace outskirts. He was watched closely, but treated with caution rather than hostility. The child stayed with him, smiling shyly, holding his hand. Ethan's heart softened. He didn't understand everything, but he knew he couldn't abandon the child. That evening, the alien palace came alive with its usual energy. Lights shimmered like stars, and the air thrummed with gentle hums of machinery and magic-like technology. Ethan observed everything carefully, aware that every action could be interpreted as a threat or a sign of respect. He had little time to think about his own survival. The child was restless and kept talking in a mixture of alien sounds and words Ethan could barely understand. Yet somehow the child seemed to sense he could be trusted. Ethan felt a deep connection forming, something powerful and human, a sense of duty he had never known before. Late at night, the Queen arrived in person. Her presence was overwhelming. She stood tall, her gaze focused directly on Ethan. Her aura was commanding, yet there was a flicker of curiosity in her eyes. "You are human," she stated. "Not a question, but a fact. Explain why this child calls you Daddy. Speak clearly. Deception will not be tolerated." Ethan rose slowly, meeting her gaze. He knew he had to be careful. "Your Majesty," he said respectfully, "I don't fully understand it myself. I did not know this child before today, but I promise I will protect them. That is all I can say." The Queen's eyes narrowed. She studied him closely. Humans were unpredictable. They had a strange combination of courage, empathy, and intelligence that could both inspire loyalty and cause chaos. She sensed Ethan was different from the humans she had heard about in stories. "Very well," she said finally. "You will remain under observation. Any attempt to harm this child or my people will be met with immediate consequences. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Majesty," Ethan replied firmly. The Queen turned to leave but paused for a moment. "Humans are curious," she murmured. "Perhaps this one may teach us something we do not yet understand." Ethan sat quietly with the child after her departure. The alien world was beautiful, dangerous, and full of unknowns. Yet in that moment he realized something important. The child needed him, and he would do everything in his power to protect them. Outside, the palace lights reflected off the crystal mountains, casting long shadows across the plains. The twin suns dipped lower, signaling the coming night. Strange creatures moved through the glowing forests, and somewhere in the distance Ethan could sense the pulse of the planet itself, alive with energy and possibility. He didn't know how long he would stay or what challenges lay ahead, but he knew one thing with certainty. Humans had a way of surviving against all odds, and he was determined to prove that once again, not for glory, but for the life of the child who had called him Daddy. And somewhere deep in the palace, the alien queen began to question everything she thought she knew about humans and the future of her own family. The morning sun rose over Zethira's crystal mountains, casting golden reflections across the floating palace city. The air shimmered with energy as palace workers and guards prepared for the day. Ethan sat quietly in the secure enclosure, the small child playing at his side. He had been awake before dawn, watching the alien world slowly come to life. Every sound, every movement felt alive and strange, yet fascinating. The child, whose name Ethan now knew was Leora, crawled into his lap, pointing at the sky and babbling in the alien language. Ethan smiled, mimicking the sounds as best as he could. It wasn't perfect, but Leora giggled, the sound like tiny bells ringing. He realized that no matter how different this world was, the bond forming between him and Leora was real. It was instinctive, undeniable, and human. The palace's senior advisor, a tall alien named Varys, arrived to speak with Ethan. His silver-tinged skin glimmered in the morning light, and his eyes were sharp and calculating. "Human," Varys began, his voice precise and careful. "The Queen requires answers. This situation is unusual. You claim to have no connection to the child, yet she calls you Daddy. How do you explain this?" Ethan looked at Leora, who now clutched his hand. I don't fully understand it myself," he said. "I wasn't expecting to meet her. But something about me, she trusts me. She feels safe with me. I can't explain why, but I know I won't let her come to harm." Varys studied him closely, Humans were unpredictable, often misunderstood. They had a strange mix of curiosity, courage, and compassion that could surprise even the most careful observers. "Very well," Varys said finally. "I will report this to the Queen. You will remain here under observation. Any attempt to deceive us will not be tolerated." Ethan nodded, understanding the unspoken warning. He had learned that honesty, combined with respect, could earn trust, even among those who did not fully understand him. While Ethan tried to rest, Princess Lyra arrived quietly at the enclosure. She moved with elegance, yet there was an urgency in her steps. Her eyes softened when she saw Leora. "Ethan," she whispered, careful not to draw attention. "You must understand. The Queen cannot know everything yet. My child's life depends on it." Ethan looked at her, confusion mixing with concern. "Lyra, what do you mean? How do I fit into this?" Lyra's gaze dropped. "Years ago, before I fully assumed my duties, I made a choice, a dangerous choice. I worked with humans in secret. One mission. It involved your people, and now, the child you see before you is the result." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He did not fully understand, but he could feel the weight of her words. Leora was more than a child. She was the center of a story that stretched across worlds, involving humans and aliens alike. "You mean this child?" Ethan asked carefully. Lyra nodded. "Yes, but the full truth cannot be revealed yet. The Queen, she would react with anger. We must be cautious." As the day progressed, the palace buzzed with tension. Ethan observed the alien culture with curiosity. Their technology was astonishing, blending natural energy with advanced mechanics. Machines floated effortlessly, and devices that manipulated light and sound were common. Yet despite all the wonders, Ethan noticed a pattern. The aliens were deeply cautious, always calculating the risk in every action. By midday, the Queen herself decided to visit the enclosure again. Ethan felt a surge of nervous energy as her presence filled the space. She was magnificent, tall, imposing, and regal, yet her gaze carried a sharp curiosity that pierced through any pretension. "You remain here with the child," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "Explain your actions. Why did you endanger yourself to protect her?" Ethan stood, his posture steady. "Your Majesty, I do not fully understand why this child calls me Daddy, but I know one thing. She is vulnerable, and I will protect her. That is all I seek to do. No harm will come to her while I am here." The Queen's eyes narrowed. She could sense honesty in his voice. Humans were strange in that way, often reckless yet capable of remarkable courage and loyalty. "You are unusual," she said finally. "Most humans would act for their own survival. You act for the sake of another." Ethan inclined his head. "I suppose that is true. But isn't that what makes survival meaningful? Protecting those who cannot protect themselves?" The Queen paused, clearly considering his words. "Perhaps. But your presence here complicates everything. You are now part of a story far larger than you realize. Secrets will not stay hidden forever." Later, Ethan and Lyra had a chance to speak privately. The child played nearby, content and trusting. Lyra looked anxious, glancing at the palace walls as if they could hear her thoughts. "You need to know," she said softly. "The child is biologically connected to you. Not fully human, but not fully Zitharan either. Hybrid. That is why she recognizes you, even though you have only just met. The bond is genetic, instinctive." Ethan's mind raced. "Hybrid, you mean Leora is my child?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, and that is why the Queen cannot know yet. This child is more than a symbol of life. She represents potential unity between humans and Zitharans, something the Queen would never have expected." Ethan knelt down, holding Leora gently. She reached up and touched his face, smiling. The simplicity of the gesture, pure trust and love, filled him with a deep, protective determination. He had never imagined this, yet somehow it felt natural. "We have to be careful," Lyra whispered. "The Queen's reaction? I cannot predict. She loves her daughter, but humans are still unknown to her. One wrong move and she may see you as a threat." Ethan nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "Then we stay quiet. We protect her. That's all we do." As the day turned to evening, tension in the palace grew. The Queen convened her council, discussing the unusual events. She spoke of the human and the child, her tone measured but sharp. "Why does my granddaughter, my daughter's child, call a human daddy?" she demanded. "I need answers." This is no ordinary situation. This human may hold knowledge, influence, or power we cannot yet understand. Varys spoke carefully. Your Majesty, the human has acted with honesty and restraint. He has not harmed the child. He seems devoted, yet the bond is undeniable. Perhaps he possesses qualities that humans are known for: courage, resourcefulness, and loyalty. The Queen's eyes flashed with a mix of suspicion and curiosity. Humans were known to be unpredictable. Some could be reckless and dangerous, others wise beyond expectations. Yet she sensed that this human, Ethan, was extraordinary. His actions were deliberate, guided by principles she did not fully understand. That night, Ethan sat outside the enclosure, watching the twin moons rise over the crystalline landscape. Leora slept peacefully in his arms, and he felt a sense of purpose he had never experienced before. Protecting her was not just duty. It was instinct, something deeper than fear or strategy. He reflected on what Lyra had told him. This child was more than a life to protect. Leora was a bridge between humans and Zitherans, a living example of cooperation, trust, and unity. That realization strengthened his resolve. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them not for glory, not for reward, but for Leora. In the quiet night, the palace hummed with unseen energy. Shadows moved in the corridors, and the Queen's presence lingered, sharp and unyielding. She would soon learn the truth. Ethan knew that day would come. He did not fear it, not because he underestimated her, but because he trusted in something humans had always relied upon: courage, honesty, and the desire to protect those we love. And so, under the glow of Zithara's moons, a human sat with his child in a world full of wonders, dangers, and secrets. He did not yet know how the Queen would react. He did not yet know how the planet's politics would shift. But he knew one thing clearly: he would face every challenge with determination, for the sake of the child who had already called him Daddy, and who had unknowingly changed the destiny of an entire world. The morning light spilled over Zithara's crystalline towers, casting brilliant reflections across the floating palace city. Ethan woke to the gentle sounds of Leora's laughter. The child had already begun exploring the enclosure, toddling between shimmering walls and examining the alien technology that glimmered around her. Ethan watched her carefully, a smile forming despite the tension that never fully left him. Every gesture Leora made reminded him why he was here. Not for power, not for reward, but for her safety. He knew that the bond between them was strong, instinctive, and deeply human. As he fed Leora breakfast, a quiet alarm echoed through the enclosure. The human immediately stood, instinct sharp. The palace guards arrived quickly, but their demeanor was cautious rather than aggressive. "You are needed," said Varys, his silver skin gleaming in the early light. "The Queen wishes to speak with you regarding the child." Ethan nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. Every step he took toward the Queen's chambers was deliberate, every movement measured. Humans often survived by adapting quickly, observing and respecting the rules of new environments. He intended to do exactly that. The Queen awaited him in her vast council room. She stood tall and commanding, her presence filling the space. Her violet eyes, sharp and precise, studied Ethan as if she could see every thought running through his mind. "You have been here for several days," she said calmly, her voice like liquid steel. "And yet the mystery remains. Why does my granddaughter call you Daddy? Explain clearly." "Deception will not be tolerated." Ethan met her gaze steadily. "Your Majesty, I do not fully understand it myself. The child trusts me, yes, but not because I forced it or demanded it. I only wish to protect her." The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly. Humans often spoke in ways that were sincere yet incomplete. She sensed that Ethan was hiding something, not out of malice, but out of caution. "Your caution is noted," she said, "but caution alone cannot resolve this. Actions have consequences, and this child's safety is paramount. I will ask again, what is your connection to her?" Ethan sighed quietly. He knew it was time to show the Queen that humans were not just strong. They were wise, capable of thinking beyond immediate danger. "I am someone who cares for her," he began. "Someone who will protect her no matter the cost. That is all I can say for now. The full truth may be revealed when the time is right. Until then, I ask for trust, not blind obedience." The Queen's lips pressed into a thin line. She was proud, protective, and not easily persuaded, but she sensed that Ethan's words were genuine. Humans often acted in unpredictable ways, but when their actions were guided by instinct and morality, They could be remarkable. Meanwhile, Leora played nearby, oblivious to the tension in the room. She toddled over to Ethan, climbing onto his lap, her small hands clutching his chest. The simplicity of the gesture, the pure trust of a child, was something the Queen could not ignore. Even her hardened heart stirred at the sight. "You are unusual," she murmured to herself. "Most humans act for self-interest. This one does not." Varys stepped forward carefully. "Your Majesty, the human demonstrates qualities rarely seen: courage, restraint, and a moral compass that guides his decisions. Perhaps these traits are what the child senses beyond simple recognition." The Queen nodded slightly, though her expression remained guarded. "Perhaps, yet secrets do not remain hidden forever. We must prepare for the day when truth emerges, and we must be ready to act if it threatens her safety, or ours." Later, Ethan and Lyra found a quiet moment together in a hidden garden within the palace. Leora ran ahead, laughing as she chased the gentle lights that floated above the alien plants. "You're taking a risk," Lyra said softly, her eyes scanning the palace walls. "The Queen grows suspicious. Every day that passes increases the danger. For you, for the child, for all of us." Ethan nodded. "I understand, but I cannot ignore her. She trusts me. And humans, we do not abandon those who need us." Lyra studied him carefully. "Your courage is human. I had forgotten what it was like. I hoped the child would survive, but you go beyond hope. You act with purpose." Ethan smiled faintly. "That's all I know how to do: protect, keep safe. That's what humans do best when everything is uncertain." The day passed with increasing tension. The palace scientists conducted discreet tests on Leora, confirming her hybrid nature. She was part human, part Zetheran, her abilities and instincts reflecting both worlds. But the results only deepened the Queen's concern. By evening, the Queen summoned a private council. Varys and other senior advisors gathered, discussing the unusual developments. "This child represents more than a family secret," one advisor said.
"She is a symbol of potential unity, of unexpected alliances."
"And the human, he is an unpredictable element." The Queen's gaze was fixed, sharp as crystal. "I do not fear humans easily, but this one, he challenges what I know about our species. He demonstrates courage, wisdom, and loyalty, qualities rarely seen outside of my own people, and yet, the bond with my granddaughter cannot be ignored." A murmur ran through the council. The Queen continued, her voice steady. "We will observe, yes. But we will also prepare. The truth will come. And when it does, we must be ready to respond with clarity and precision. This child's life, and perhaps the future of our world, depends on it." Meanwhile, Ethan prepared for the coming days with quiet determination. He knew the Queen's scrutiny would not lessen. He knew every word, every gesture, every action could be misinterpreted. Yet he also knew humans had a unique strength: the ability to adapt, to act with courage, and to inspire trust even in the most alien of hearts. He spent time teaching Leora simple human gestures, how to reach out, how to speak a few human words. She mimicked him with ease, her hybrid mind absorbing information rapidly. Watching her learn, Ethan felt a surge of hope. This child, part human, part Zetheran, was a symbol of possibilities he had never imagined. That night, the palace shimmered under the twin moons. Ethan held Leora close, feeling her tiny heartbeat against his chest. He thought of Lyra, of the Queen, and of the delicate balance that now existed between humans and Zitherans. He knew challenges were coming. He knew the Queen would eventually learn the truth about Leora, but he also knew something else. Humans did not shy away from challenges. They faced them, adapted, and often changed the course of events with courage, ingenuity, and heart. And in that quiet moment, Ethan made a silent promise: no matter the danger, no matter the consequences, he would protect Leora. He would stand between her and any threat, alien or otherwise, and ensure her life was safe. Somewhere deep in the palace, the Queen watched from a distance. Her expression was unreadable, but her mind raced. This human, he was unlike any she had encountered. His courage, his restraint, and his bond with her granddaughter defied expectations. Yet questions remained, and the full truth was still hidden. Ethan did not know how the Queen would respond when that truth emerged. But he knew one thing clearly: humans were not defined by fear. They were defined by the choices they made, the risks they took, and the lives they protected. And in the silent, crystal-lit palace of Zithera, one human was about to demonstrate that truth in a way that no alien, queen or council, would ever forget. The tension in the air grew heavier with each passing day. Guards moved with cautious vigilance, palace scientists whispered about the unusual hybrid, and advisors debated strategy. Yet through it all, Ethan remained steadfast. He was not just surviving. He was proving that humans, though outsiders, had a power all their own: courage, morality, and the ability to inspire trust even across worlds. As the twin moons reached their peak, casting a silvery glow across the palace gardens, Ethan sat quietly with Leora asleep in his arms. He thought of the coming days, the challenges ahead, and the inevitable revelation that would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. But he was ready. Humans had always faced the unknown and overcome, and now in this alien world, he would do the same, for the child who had called him Daddy, and for the promise of a future where humans and Zitherans could understand one another in ways neither had ever imagined. The morning on Zithera began quietly, yet tension hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. In the palace, preparations for the Queen's daily council continued, but behind the shimmering crystal walls, whispers of the human and the child's unusual bond spread. Every gaze, every word carried suspicion, and at the heart of it all, the Queen's mind churned with questions she could not ignore. Ethan had been awake before dawn, as always. Leora, energetic and curious, climbed onto his lap and babbled in her hybrid tongue. Her laughter was innocent, yet it carried a sense of trust that Ethan had never experienced before. It was a reminder of why he had come so far, to protect her, to guide her, and to ensure that her life remained safe in this strange, beautiful, and sometimes dangerous world. The Queen arrived quietly, accompanied by her most trusted advisors. Her violet eyes were sharp, observing Ethan as he held the child. He did not flinch. Humans, after all, were known for facing threats directly without faltering. The Queen studied him carefully, trying to read the truth hidden in his calm demeanor. "You have been with the child for several days," the Queen began, her voice calm but edged with authority. "And yet the questions remain. Why does she call you Daddy? Explain fully, human. Deception will not be tolerated." Ethan took a deep breath, knowing this moment could change everything. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice steady, "I will speak the truth. This child is connected to me in a way that may surprise you. I am her father. Leora is part human, part Zitheran. That is why she recognizes me, trusts me instinctively, and calls me Daddy." The Queen's eyes widened, a flicker of shock passing through her composed expression. Silence filled the room, heavy and electric. The advisors murmured among themselves, some exchanging looks of disbelief, others nodding with recognition of the unusual truth. You are her father?" the Queen asked, her voice quieter now, almost as if she needed to hear the words herself to believe them. "Explain this. How is this possible?" Ethan nodded. "Years ago, before the child was born, I worked with Princess Lyra in a secret mission involving humans and Zitherans. It was dangerous and we had to act carefully. Leora's survival depended on choices we made in secrecy. She was hidden for her protection. I did not seek recognition or reward. I only sought to ensure her life and safety." The Queen remained silent for a long moment, her mind racing. She had always known humans to be unpredictable, sometimes reckless, often bold. But Ethan, he was different. He had not acted for power or glory, but purely for the child. His courage, his morality, and his sense of duty challenged every assumption she had held about humans. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes brimming with emotion. "Mother, I should have told you earlier. But I feared for Leora's safety. I feared the Queen's reaction. I wanted to protect her, and Ethan helped. He did not hesitate. He has only ever acted for her well-being." The Queen's gaze softened slightly, but her mind was still sharp, calculating. "So you risked everything for this child?" she asked Ethan. "Yes, Your Majesty," Ethan replied firmly. "I would risk anything to keep her safe. That is what humans do for those they care about. It is instinct, yes, but also a choice. A choice to protect life, to act with courage, to stand against danger." The room was silent again, the weight of truth settling over everyone. The advisors whispered quietly, debating what this revelation meant. Some saw it as a threat, others as a unique opportunity. The Queen listened, her mind assessing the situation carefully. You speak of choice and courage, she said finally, her voice thoughtful. These are qualities I admire. Yet the situation is delicate. You are human, an outsider in every sense, and yet you have shown more loyalty, more courage, and more wisdom than many of my own people. Ethan bowed his head respectfully. Your Majesty, I am grateful for your words, but I ask for nothing. I only wish to protect the child and help her grow safely in this world. That is all I seek. The Queen's expression shifted, a mixture of pride, relief, and concern. She had feared this revelation might bring chaos, but instead it brought clarity. The human before her was not a threat. He was a protector, and in that moment she began to see humanity in a way she had never imagined. Varys, the senior advisor, spoke carefully. Your Majesty, this human demonstrates qualities rarely seen in any species. Courage, restraint, and a moral compass that guides his actions. Perhaps he is a symbol of the potential unity between humans and Zitherans. The child is living proof of that possibility. The Queen nodded, though her expression remained composed. Perhaps, she said softly. Yet the situation remains delicate. We must protect the child, yes. But we must also prepare for external threats, those who may see Leora as a symbol, as an advantage. And we must be cautious in our dealings with humans, even one as extraordinary as this. Ethan watched carefully, understanding the unspoken warning. Humans had always faced challenges, often from those who feared what they could not understand. He had survived dangerous missions, harsh planets, and unknown worlds. He would survive this as well, not through force, but through courage, intelligence, and unwavering protection of the child. As the day progressed, Ethan spent time with Leora, teaching her simple words and gestures from human culture. She absorbed everything quickly, her hybrid mind bridging the gap between species naturally. Watching her learn, Ethan felt a sense of hope. Leora represented more than life. She was a symbol of possibilities, a living example of cooperation between humans and Zitherans. Lyra joined them in the garden, her eyes softening as she watched Ethan interact with her daughter. I cannot believe it, she said quietly. I feared for her safety every day, yet you have proven more than I could have imagined. You are not just her protector. You are her father, her guide, and her strength. Ethan looked at her and nodded. I only do what anyone would do if they cared. Humans protect those they love. That is who we are. The Queen observed from a distance, her presence felt but unseen. She had requested the garden be left open, so she could watch without interrupting. As she saw Ethan's careful guidance, his gentle teaching, and the child's joyful response, she began to understand. Humans were not merely survivors. They were capable of deep connection, of instinctive morality, and of courage that inspired trust. That evening, the Queen convened a special council to discuss the revelation. The human is no threat, she said firmly. He has acted purely for the child's well-being. Yet the situation remains delicate. Leora represents a bridge between humans and Zitherans. We must respect that bond, protect her, and guide her growth. But we must also ensure no external force exploits this connection. The advisors nodded, understanding the weight of her decision. The room was filled with a mixture of relief, respect, and cautious optimism. For the first time, humans were seen not as unpredictable outsiders but as allies, capable of shaping the future through courage, morality, and protective instinct. Ethan spent the night in quiet reflection. Holding Leora as she slept, he understood the responsibility that now rested on him. He was not merely surviving. He was shaping the life of a child who could change the relationship between two species. The weight of that responsibility was immense, yet he did not falter. Humans had always faced impossible odds, and they had always endured. As Zithra's moons rose high above the crystalline spires, the Queen stood silently in her chambers. She had seen the human in action, had observed his courage, his patience, and his morality. She knew now that Ethan was extraordinary, not just because of his bond with the child, but because of his human nature. Humans could act with instinct, morality, and courage in ways even the most advanced alien civilizations could not always predict. The revelation had changed everything. Leora's life was now openly connected to both her mother and her father, human and Zitheran. And in the quiet of the palace night, one truth became clear. Humans had a unique power, the ability to inspire trust, protect life, and act with courage in ways that could alter the course of worlds. And the Queen, for the first time, began to see that humanity was not merely a species to be observed or controlled. They were a force capable of shaping destiny, of building connections that no technology or strategy alone could achieve. Ethan, unaware of the full thoughts of the Queen, held his daughter close. The path ahead would be challenging, full of political intrigue, potential threats, and the unknown. Yet he was ready. Humans survived by adapting, by acting with courage, and by protecting those they loved. And now, on Zythera, he would continue to do exactly that. For Leora, for Lyra, and for the hope of unity between their worlds. The twin suns of Zythera rose slowly over the crystal towers, spilling light across the floating city. The palace shimmered with brilliance, and the hum of alien technology filled the air. For the first time in days, the tension in the palace felt lighter. The revelation of Ethan's bond with Leora had shifted the balance, opening a path for understanding, cooperation, and hope. Ethan sat in the garden with Leora, who toddled between his legs with an unrestrained joy that seemed to fill the space. Her laughter echoed like music across the crystalline walls, and Ethan felt a warmth he had never experienced before. The child's trust and love were absolute, instinctive, and unwavering. Lyra approached quietly, a gentle smile on her face. "She's amazing," she said softly, watching Leora chase the floating lights above the alien plants. "Even with all the danger, she brings life and hope wherever she goes." Ethan nodded. "She's more than just a child. She's a bridge between worlds. I will protect her with everything I have, always." Lyra's eyes softened as she studied him. "You have proven yourself beyond measure. The Queen sees it now, too. Your courage, your patience, your care, it has changed her perspective on humans completely." Ethan looked toward the palace, sensing the Queen observing them. The violet-eyed ruler had always commanded respect and awe, but now her gaze seemed different. It was not suspicion or authority, it was recognition. She understood, perhaps for the first time, that humans could act with morality, courage, and love in ways even the most advanced civilizations could not fully predict. A palace guard approached quietly, bowing respectfully. "Your Majesty requests your presence," he said, addressing Ethan. Ethan rose, holding Leora's hand. "I'll go," he said, turning to Lyra. "Stay with her. Keep her safe." Lyra nodded, trusting him fully. "Be careful," she whispered. The council chamber was filled with senior advisors, palace officials, and the Queen herself. The atmosphere was charged, yet not with tension. This time it was with anticipation. The Queen stood tall, her presence commanding every eye in the room, but her gaze was fixed solely on Ethan. "You have acted with courage, honesty, and dedication," the Queen said, her voice steady. "You have protected my granddaughter, guided her, and ensured her safety. You have proven that humans are capable of great strength not only of body but of spirit and heart." Ethan bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I did what any human would do. I protected life. I followed instinct and reason, and I honored trust. That is all I have ever sought to do." The Queen studied him for a long moment, then gestured for him to rise. "No longer shall we treat you as an outsider," she declared. "You are now recognized not just as Leora's protector, but as a valued ally of this world. Your actions have shown that humans can inspire trust and unity between species." The advisors murmured among themselves, some nodding in agreement, others in cautious approval. The decision was unprecedented, yet it carried wisdom and clarity. Recognizing Ethan as an ally would strengthen the palace, protect Leora, and foster a new era of cooperation between humans and Zytherans. Ethan's gaze shifted to Leora, who had been brought in by Lyra. The child's eyes lit up when she saw him, and she ran forward calling "Daddy." The simple word echoed through the chamber, and even the Queen felt a stirring of emotion. "You have truly changed the heart of this palace," the Queen said softly, almost to herself. "Perhaps humans are capable of more than I ever imagined." Lyra stepped forward and placed a hand on the Queen's shoulder. "Mother, he has not just protected Leora. He has taught us a lesson we cannot ignore. Humans can act with honor, courage, and morality, and this bond, between father and child, cannot be denied." The Queen looked at Ethan and then at Leora. The realization was profound. The human before her was extraordinary, not because he was alien or powerful, but because he had chosen to act with unwavering morality and courage. It was a quality that even her most trusted advisors could not fully emulate. "You have my recognition," the Queen declared finally. "Not as a stranger, not as a human observer, but as Leora's father and a guardian of this world. Your presence here strengthens us all, and your bond with the child is acknowledged and honored." Ethan bowed deeply, holding Leora's hand tightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said. "I will continue to honor this trust, protect her, and ensure her life is safe. Always." The Queen nodded, her expression softening. "Then let it be known, humans, though outsiders, can embody courage, wisdom, and morality in ways that can inspire and protect. You have demonstrated that truth." As the council dispersed, Ethan remained with Leora. She climbed onto his shoulders, giggling, her hybrid mind absorbing everything around her with curiosity and wonder. She had no fear, only trust. Ethan smiled, feeling the depth of their bond, a connection that bridged species, worlds, and generations. In the days that followed, Ethan became an honored guest in the palace. He was allowed to explore the Crystal City, observe the technology, and participate in discussions that shaped the future of Zythera. The Queen herself occasionally visited him in the garden, observing his interactions with Leora and learning from the human perspective. Every day, Ethan demonstrated the values that defined humans: courage, moral clarity, and the willingness to protect life even at great personal risk. Slowly, the palace began to change. Guards became less suspicious, advisors more open to dialogue, and the people of Zythera began to see humans as more than outsiders. They saw them as allies, teachers, and protectors. Lyra watched with relief and gratitude. "You have changed everything," she said one evening as Ethan held Leora and pointed out the stars. "Her life is safe, her world is stable, and the Queen, she sees the truth." Ethan smiled faintly. It was never about changing worlds. It was about protecting life, doing what's right, and being brave when it matters most. Humans survive because we care, we act, and we adapt. Lyra nodded, understanding fully. "And you have proven that here on Zythera, in ways no one could have imagined." As the twin suns set over the crystalline horizon, casting long reflections across the floating towers, the palace was filled with a sense of hope. The Queen had acknowledged the human not as an outsider, but as a father, a protector, and a symbol of courage. Leora's life was now secure, and the bond between human and alien worlds had begun to form. Strong, undeniable, and full of possibility, Ethan held Leora close, feeling her tiny heartbeat against his chest. He had faced unknown worlds, dangerous missions, and countless challenges. Yet this, the trust, the love, and the connection, was the greatest reward of all. It was proof that courage, morality, and the willingness to protect others could change not just a life, but the destiny of worlds. The Queen, standing silently in the garden, observed them from a distance. She had learned something profound. Humans were capable of great strength, not only in battle or survival, but in the courage to act morally and protectively. Ethan's actions had shifted her understanding of humanity forever. And so, on the crystal world of Zythera, a new era began. One where humans and Zytherans could cooperate, trust, and learn from one another. Ethan had proven the truth of what humans had always known, that courage, love, and morality were the greatest strengths of all. As night fell and the twin moons rose, their light reflecting off the crystalline towers, Ethan whispered to Leora, "We'll face everything together, little one. No danger, no challenge can break us." Leora giggled, wrapping her tiny arms around his neck. "Daddy," she called, and in that simple word, Ethan felt the weight of his journey, the joy of his purpose, and the promise of a future filled with hope, courage, and unity. The palace was quiet, but the world outside was alive with possibility. And in that moment, humans and Zytherans alike understood one undeniable truth: the strength of life, the power of morality, and the courage to protect others could shape the destiny of entire worlds. Ethan had arrived as a stranger, a human lost in an alien world. He remained as something far greater, a father, a protector, and a symbol of courage that bridged the gap between worlds. And as the twin moons shone above, a new dawn rose for Zythera, full of promise, trust, and unity.